Village Corrales. Oh, you know, I've been doing this a little wrong, haven't I? Well, so we'll do a roll call quickly. Councilor Murray?
Here.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Here.
Councilor Knight?
Here.
Councilor Willman?
Here.
Councilor Miera?
Here.
Mayor's here. Okay. Turn your phones on, put your phones on vibrate or turn them off, please, so you don't disturb anybody who might be speaking at the podium. And once you've done that, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
If so, I need a motion to approve the agenda and a second.
And will we approve the agenda?
I have a motion to approve the agenda from Councilor Knight and a second from Councilor Miera. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. No, any opposed? Seeing none opposed, the agenda is approved. So at this time, I'm going to pass the microphone to Administrator Curry and let him give his report.
Thank you, Mayor. First on the agenda of this report is Tanya.
Hello, Council, Mayor, Administrator Curry. I hope you can hear me okay. Thank you and welcome to the first meeting of 2023. So I'm going to do a quick recap. We started this year with 672 lab confirmed COVID cases. We ended with 1,587, which was a gain of 915 cases lab confirmed in Corrales. For 2023, we have 7 cases lab confirmed so far. As everyone knows, the testing sites have really gone away. Walgreens still has them, hospitals have them, urgent cares have some of the PCR, and even if it's an antigen test at a physician or one of those places, they have to report those as lab confirmed. So the numbers are hard to track. Right now, we'll be tracking more of the hospital admits. Right now, we're at 95 admissions for today. We had 281 cases in New Mexico today. And the new variant XBB.1.5 is the one that everyone's talking about with some immune escape issues. So we are going to be watching that closely. The tests we had previously handed out, all of those should expire. The iHome Health should expire 1/13 of this year. We did get an allotment from the federal government of another 5,000 tests. So they're a different brand. They will not expire. They've been extended till February 1st of 2024. Those are already out at Village Hall, and we will keep places stocked. We still, I believe, have some at the library, and of course, you can call the fire station for home COVID tests. Those are 4-packs. We are still vaccinating at least twice a week, and still getting pretty decent turnout. We did 50 vaccines on Saturday. We're getting a lot more kids age 5 to 11 in, and we're getting some first-time vaccines still in, because I do still carry the primary series, and we're getting some of those in, which is wonderful. As always, if you haven't got your booster, please do so. Haven't got your flu shot, there's still time. We still have a lot of flu cases in New Mexico. We're still a purple state. We're meaning very high for influenza-like activity. We are green in the community transmission map. Only one county in New Mexico is not, and that's San Juan, and it's a yellow, so a medium level. The hospital map that we look at for where we think we may be going for Sandoval and Bernalillo County, we are substantial, but we are not high right now. So that's good news. But we did have a surge before other parts of the country, and we tend to surge later with new variants. So we'll just have to wait and see, and I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone may have. Thank you.
Councilor Murray?
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. Tanya, and this question may have been asked last time, and I've already purged last year's information, so just remind me, but are the home tests, are they good for any of the new variants that are coming out?
So they're still really looking at that. What I have found, and they finally came out with a study on it, and I've been talking a lot about it. The home tests tend to take up to 3 days of illness to go positive. I've seen people say, I need a test, I don't feel good, and they come right in. But then when I talk to them about history, they've not felt good for 3 days. So none of them have been pulled yet that we have. They are testing them for the variants, but they are taking longer. So as I really stress, if you are over 50, which means you qualify for Paxlovid just being over 50, if you're overweight, if you're a smoker, if you have asthma, if you have high blood pressure, you're immune compromised, you really need to find, if your home test is negative, you really need to find a PCR test quickly. And I mean, there's lots of places that should have the rapid tests because you've got to start that treatment within 5 days. I've ran into some patients recently who didn't start their treatment till day 5, and it did not help as much as I've seen it help when people start at day 1, day 2 of the illness. So you've got to really, and you've got a serial test with the home tests. The way the protocol is written is day 1, you don't feel good, you take a test. You'll stay home, you do nothing, you stay home. 48 hours later, you take another test. If it's negative and you still don't feel good, you stay home. 48 hours after that, you take another test, but we're at day 6 then. So they're pretty sure if you haven't popped positive on one of those, it wasn't COVID, but if it was, you've missed your treatment window. So it's really important if you're in that, and I'm in that, I'm over 50, to try to find a PCR test if you think you're going to need treatment. Does that
Councilman
answer
Wright.
your question, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. Tanya, I was wondering, you said that there's so many more people this week in the hospital. Are those people non-vaccinated still, or did they have vaccinations and it has waned and they're getting COVID now, or give us an update with that?
So we do have some of the issue with waning. I mean, some of us got vaccinated with our latest booster in September when it came out, came out the first day we opened and people got it. A lot of the data I'm reading, and I'm trying to open, I opened the wrong report, sorry, Counselor. A lot of the stuff, people ending up in the hospital, if you're over 65, even if you're vaccinated and boosted, you may end up in the hospital. That's why it's so important to get Paxlovid or any of the other treatments that you may be able to get quickly. But we are still getting non-vaccinated. So even the mortality report shows that the non-vaccinated at any age is still much more likely to end up in the hospital or die from COVID than the vaccinated are. But as we age, our immune system also ages. So it's a mixture. If you're over 75, 80, and you're vaccinated, you still have a high risk. That's why getting treatment is so important. And the Paxlovid has got a really good 89% of keeping you out of the hospital if you get it early. So that's why I keep talking about it. Remdesivir also does. It's just harder to find remdesivir. But if you're on certain medications, that may be what you need to take.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, everyone.
Next, I'm going to ask Melanie to give an update on our comprehensive plan and the activities we're about to ask the village to participate in.
Council, Mayor. So for the comprehensive plan, Lori and I sat down and took a look at the survey that we did back in 2008 for the 2009 comprehensive plan, and we thought that survey looked pretty good. So we're basically going to tweak that one a little bit and use that for the survey that will go out to all the residents. I actually got access to our SurveyMonkey account yesterday, and I have the first draft of the survey built, and Lori is taking a look at it. I gave a copy to Ron. I have a copy for the mayor to take a look at as well. And then once we have the survey in a format where we are happy with it, we will print up a postcard that will go out to every address in the village, and that will have the information on how to access the survey. And then we'll also have a paper survey that they could pick up, people could pick up at either the library or at Village Hall if they aren't comfortable doing the survey online.
Questions? Thank you, Melanie.
Okay, a quick update on the Gonzalez property. I spoke with Al Gonzalez a few days ago, and they are still involved with an internal family discussion. And it involves two of his relatives that are disputing on how the distribution of funds coming from the sale of the property will be distributed within the relatives. What I told Al was that we were, Alan, what I told him is that the village is putting no pressure on them to act, to do anything, that we are waiting. The offer still stands. We have not, I have not been directed either by you guys or the mayor to put a timeline on it. And so we're trying to be patient because Alan has jumped through hoops for years trying to forge this coalition of his relatives together. And he's still optimistic that this is going to happen, as am I, but we're giving them kind of a hands-off approach at this point. The other thing that I wanted to emphasize, that I emphasized to him and emphasize to anybody who will listen to me for 10 seconds or so, is that we are not entertaining any discussion of the use of that property at this point in time, because that makes their discussions within their family more difficult. So I've asked our folks to be very cautious when talking about this property, because I know that there are many residents in the village here who have a lot of strong opinions on how that property should be used. And it's not helpful to be discussing that until the ink is dry on the check that we write to the Gonzalez property, if and when that happens. And I think it's important to say that, you know, I know we've had some proposals that have come up in front of planning and zoning that include that property in some of those discussions. And I think that is not helpful at all to the overall closing and getting that sale done. So I'm still optimistic, Alan's still optimistic, but we are being very patient at this point.
Yes, Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilor. Just a quick question. And I know families are dysfunctional and so forth, and I understand that, but it seems like to me this is their internal family discussion about how to distribute the money. Why can't we just go ahead and have them close on the property? They get the money, then they argue about how they want to distribute it. Unless they're having discussions about they don't like the price at which has been offered or something like that.
Well, the problem comes there is that each one of them has to sign off and on the final title, more or less. And the way that that money is being distributed is tied up in legal actions that has nothing to do with this particular property. On the other hand, one or both of two of his relatives are refusing to go forward at all until that issue is resolved.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay. We are in the process on Meadowlark, the trail, and I'm going to ask Michael Chavez at one of our next two meetings to give an update from a design and construction point of view of what we're planning. But we are still working with the residents to connect with them and get their signed approval on the line of sight that they must sign off for the easements that they've got. So I'm working with Randy and getting the particular legal documents that we need. There may be a variation between one of the other, between the various, 10 properties that we're dealing with out there. But we're moving slowly, and some of that is, we have a couple of residents who are really not wanting to do anything, see any activity on their property before the 1st of June. And they've made that very clear to us as we've talked to them about and part of it's has to do with the way their homes show. Part of it has to do with some of the home shows here in Corrales, or the garden tours and things like that. So we're trying to adhere to their wishes as they consider giving the easements to the villages we need. But I will have Michael here at the meeting, one of the next two meetings, to give you an update as to what the design will look like once we get the easement document signed. When we've been out on the trail talking to folks, we can hear reflected in the over more than 20 years that this project's been out there, people have impressions that go back 15 years ago as how the road was going to be designed. People have impressions that go back to 18 months ago as how the trail was going to be designed. People, they're kind of all over the map. So we're trying to, as we move into what I hope to be the final phase, be as clear and definitive as to what they're going to see and what we're going to see as a village, so that once the work begins, nobody goes, oh, that's not what I thought was going to happen.
Questions or comments from anybody? Okay.
The next thing I just wanted to mention on the local government investment pool, we collected $14,000 in interest last month, bringing the total to the total of the fund is $4,414,181 at this point in time. So with that, I would turn it over to Mr. Audio.
Councilor Olwin.
Yes, one question, Ron. My understanding was that we were going to talk about the update on animal ordinances and microchipping and things, and maybe Randy can address that as well, where we are on that. Microchipping for animals?
I don't have, Melanie, do you have anything?
So when Animal Services heard that we wanted to add microchipping to the ordinance, they asked if we could take a look at a few other items as well, since, it's a process to amend the ordinance. So they have sent over their wishes. We need to send that over and have Randy's team get it in a usable format for us. And then once we get that all working, then we can move forward on it. But Randy's team is also working on our personnel policy for us, and there's been some other stuff in there as well. So the personnel code is also going to be an ordinance. So yeah, it's on my whiteboard. So we won't forget about it.
Thank you.
Randy?
Good afternoon, councilors, members of the public, mayor. Just wanted to give another statement on the Huff Flora matter and its status. The status remains unchanged. We have had a decision in our favor issued by the District Court Judge Knoll for the last few years, where Mr. Flora's claims were all brought to Judge Knoll, and he ruled in the village's favor that the actions of our staff and the village were legal and appropriate. And Mr. Huff Flora has appealed that, and that decision is pending up in the Court of Appeals. And he has filed another case that is stayed depending on that appeal. So I will keep giving updates. We stand open on a couple issues, as we've discussed, where there's some open meetings, some Inspection of Public Records Act issues that we remain open to discuss with Mr. Flora to help resolve those. But we've had no success with that at this time. So that's all for now.
That's all I have, man.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments with the council? Councilors Forum, now's your turn. Yes, sir. Councilor Mira.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under the informational purposes, I had quite a few of the constituents calling, complaining about gunfire and signage, specifically out at the dam, not the dam, but Dam Road, because we got the dam out there. But had a nice conversation with the chief, and he sent me Lieutenant Wiley, and just letting you know that it's nice to be able to have some civil servants that are out there that responded quickly, and so I want to thank the chief and lieutenant for putting that up. It's not easy work out there. I don't know where all those individuals come from, and but the gunfire, that's a whole nother situation. I think this year was a little bit more wilder than I think the year before. At least we had a lot of shots out that way. But on that point, speaking of civil servants, Michael, I gave a call to Michael, and there was some concerns about some striping up on Angel Road, and Mike said he's going to find the purposes and the wherewithal to do that striping. So right now, there is no striping since we finished doing that. And maybe you might want to ask Michael about that, but he said he's going to find the money, and we're going to have that striping done for that new road that was put up there. So I just wanted to thank them openly.
Yes. Any other counselor want to make a comment, have a question, bring up an issue that's not addressed in the agenda? Yes, sir, Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. So I was noticing in the paper that we have posted some positions internally for job openings and so forth. It seems like to me that maybe we need to put this as a budget item, that anything that requires a posting for job positions shouldn't come out of the department's budget, that it should be a administrative or general budget item. Maybe we allocate just so much money for these advertisements and so forth. It just seems like we shouldn't penalize the departments for seeking job or applicants and then penalize them because they have to put the ad in the paper or something like that. So maybe we can talk about that as a budget item in the future.
I wasn't aware that was an issue.
Melanie, you've done these, but to the best of my knowledge, we've always endeavored to pay for it out of the administration.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that we charged it to individual departments' budgets, but
Yes, we can certainly look into that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's good thought. Okay. If no one has any other comments or questions they have to raise, we'll move on to Corleone's Forum. The section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion and debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. There's a 3-minute time limit. Melanie?
Mr. Flora, if you could please state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Before I move on, I would like to ask Mr. Audio if he would like to, if he would be willing to release this to the commission so they can understand what I'm talking about.
Well, you mean the council?
The council? Yes.
They've already seen it.
The council has already seen this, so is this a public document?
No,
This is
it's a
not.
confidential settlement document
Okay, this is confidential settlement.
between you and us.
Well, that's why I'm asking you to release it to the council and to the public.
I won't release it to the public.
Okay.
Then it's not confidential.
Pardon?
Then it's no longer confidential.
All right. Well, then I can answer questions on there. Okay. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
Okay, my name's Kirk Flora, 560 Andrews Lane. Last council meeting, I turned in emails from Lori Stout. One of the emails that says, I have good news and bad news, and that she's forcing a preliminary plat on us instead of a summary plat. Well, Lori was told by our surveyor, our attorney, myself, she even admits it in one line here, and many times over and over and over, she was told that there's 2 separate properties, okay? And that we had 2 separate properties there. She forced a preliminary plat on us. The reason she forced this preliminary plat on us is because she kept assuming the property was one piece of property and there was only a county line in between the 2 properties. This is a recording from Lori Stout.
existing there and move it up.
It wasn't a lot line, it was a county line, old county line.
No, it was a lot line, they're two different lots.
Well,
Okay, you hear Lori stating that it's just a lot line, okay? That is after 3 meetings. 3 meetings went by, everybody has told her that it's 2 separate properties. She still insisted, this is January 8th, 2019, after 3 meetings, she still insisted we had 1 piece of property and that was just an old county line, okay? Well, we'll just leave it at that. What I'd like to bring up today is the reason we are still dealing with the village and not settled this case. As for issue 1 in this confidential thing here, I can't say what it says here, but for issue 1, it is not what we agreed to. We agreed that we would give the village 25 feet of the private easement, not a right-of-way, with a 20-foot road, not a right-of-way. As for A, also, we talked about this before, a precedent. The precedent was already set on a 20-foot easement roadway in 2014, okay? When the Eber Farms was subdivided, included our property with a 20-foot road. Our deed calls out, since we are not a new subdivision, we are an old subdivision. So our deed calls out a 20-foot road. As to 1B, we paid our application fees. In our application fees, that included the engineer, okay, to look at the culvert, okay? The village forced us to get a
Thank you, Mr. Flora, that's your time.
a certified engineer to look at the culvert. When they forced us to have that certified engineer
that's your time,
look
Mr.
at the
Flores.
culvert, and now what do they want? Okay, we were forced 3 times for them to look at the culvert. 3 times.
Thank you.
Okay, it's just crazy. It goes on and on. That's the reason there is no negotiation right now, because you guys are not willing to negotiate. You guys are wanting to do what you want to do without negotiations. That's the problem,
That's it.
okay? We gave you what
Thank you.
we asked, we told you what we wanted, and you guys continue
Okay.
to not negotiate.
Do you have someone else?
Now call our
That's it.
attorney and set up a meeting.
We can
Okay.
talk about that offline, sir.
Okay. So now we'll move to the consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to review the consent agenda? Does anybody have anything they want to pull off the consent agenda? If not, I need a motion to approve in a second.
I move item G, all the items on the consent agenda.
Second?
I have a motion from Councilor Miera and a second from Councilor Knight. Okay. Anything come up while we're, anything perhaps you might want to ask? Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. So the professional services contract we have for the attorney, there's no change in the funding whatsoever, it's just an extension of the contract, right?
It's the second year of a three-year plan?
Second of a 4-year.
4 year, excuse me. I got that wrong. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
It's just the second year.
Okay, and one other question is on the map extension. It says the village will pay for anything over the $526,000 total cost. And given that the contract was back in '21, we're asking for an extension. Are we going to get pulled in for any additional cost for that road improvement?
I don't have all the estimates. Is Michael still on?
Yes, I'm here, Councilor Mayor.
Are you anticipating any increase on this extension, this map extension request?
I don't believe so because when I estimate these projects, I do kind of go real high on them anyway.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right. How do you vote, Councilor Miera?
Yes.
Councilor Waldman?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Murray?
All right.
Okay. It all passes. So now we'll move to new business, consideration action approval of liquor license and distance waiver for Fancy's Bakery, maybe Francis, but Fancy's Bakery, Market and Eatery. Did you want to make a comment? They have served beer and wine in the past in this facility, and they have a letter, as you've noticed, from the priest over at the church. Does anyone want to go ahead and make a motion to approve this?
Mayor, I move we approve the liquor license and distance waiver for Fancy's Bakery.
Councilor Alsobrook made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
And a second from Councilor Woolman. Any further discussion? Yes, Councilor Murray?
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. A couple items. I did not see a letter from the diocese stating they're okay with this. Did I miss that?
The letter from the priest?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it's in here.
okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, this is page 51. I don't know if they go in order. Do they go in order?
They should, yeah.
Okay, so page 51, Father McGowan signed off.
Okay. The other question I have, and this is the problem I have right now, is we've asked the attorney to come up with internal rules for the village about how to deal with establishments within 300 feet of a church or a school. I'm a little concerned that if we go ahead and prove this, are we putting the village in jeopardy because we had denied a previous applicant, and yet we don't have those rules in place how to deal with these things?
I think go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take your job.
Councilor Murray, you have dutifully reminded us that we need to do those rules, and we do need to do them. That doesn't come up when there's a consent involved by the establishment. Here, the establishment itself is consenting, so we do not have to have a process to determine whether we should approve it even without their consent. That's what we need the rules for.
Yeah,
So-
I was just a little worried that we're not putting the village in jeopardy, for a lawsuit or something like that.
No, because two apples and oranges, we need them though, and Melanie and I were talking about it when this came up. We'll have it on an upcoming agenda in February, so that we can get that squared away for the next time this issue comes up, when there is no consent of the church or school.
Okay, because I have a feeling that, one of the applicants could come back to the village with this application, even though they are within this 300 feet. So I just want to make sure we get that in place.
Yes, sir.
To make an editorial comment, I would hope that at some point they would come back to the village and ask for permission.
I would do.
Yeah. Okay, so, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Oh, wait a minute, no, let's do this by roll call vote, sorry. This would be appropriate. Councilor Mira?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Woolman?
Yes, sir, with pleasure.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
And Councilor Murray?
Yes.
If you haven't had an opportunity, this is also an editorial comment. If you haven't had an opportunity to stop by Fancy's Bakery, it's really very nice, very professional, very well done. And thank you for being here. Okay, so now we go on to consideration action and approval of resolution 23-03, approval of cost of living wage increase for the village employees. I think, didn't you broach this subject in your administrator's discussion, or am I imagining things? Sure. Do I have a motion to approve 23-03?
Oh, certainly.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second from Councilor Alsobrook. So, did you want to talk about it, or you want me to talk about it?
Go ahead, and I'll be glad to jump in.
So, most of you are very young, so you aren't aware of this, but this year the cost of living increase from Social Security has gone up 9%.
8.7.
Okay. So
Which rounds to 9.
we felt it was only reasonable to try to give our employees, who do an absolutely wonderful job, a similar cost of living increase. And we looked at several different numbers, and the number we chose was 8.9?
8.7.
8.7, excuse me, same as Social Security. But I thought it was 8.9, but anyway, I diverge. So we would like to do that across the board, starting with February this year.
The cost through the end of the fiscal year would be, including FICA benefits, PERA, would be $134,000 through the end of the fiscal year. Beginning next year, we anticipate the cost for all of next fiscal year between $303,000 and $310,000. And, you know, we are always concerned about the quality of employees that we have in the village, and we believe we have very high-quality employees in the village. We then become concerned about retaining them. And then we're concerned about retaining the younger employees as we go forward. And then for our older, more seasoned employees that are doing a good job, it's an incentive for them to stay here longer and give us a chance to do some succession planning.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we've strived for, Mayor Fahey and Mayor Roque, is to try to build a staff that is not only quality but sustainable. And I think this sort of cost of living increase is consistent with those goals.
Let me just make one more comment. So I think institutional memory is very important, especially in our little village where, you know, we don't need a lot of turnover and lose stuff, lose history. So by keeping these people around, for these employees here, we improve that institutional memory. I mean, we have discussions periodically, and I keep going back to 2006, 2008. It's probably because I remember it better than I do yesterday. But even at that, having that experience is critical. And you also, as I used to tell the residents at the university, you develop judgment about what's the right thing to do in these situations. And I think that's important too, having experience in the position. Go ahead, Councilor Woolman.
No, I was just going to comment. It appears from the quarterly or monthly reports we get on the GRT that we're in pretty good shape, and that this would be covered without question by the trend on the GRT. Is that?
We're doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, John.
I think this, thank you, Mayor. Councilors, I think this is an important step for us. It's a way for us to acknowledge, as Ron mentioned, the excellence of our staff. And we don't have the same levers that the private sector does in terms of, you know, individualized annual rewards and bonuses and things like that. So I think this is a very important step. I would hope this puts us up as an example for a lot of other municipalities in the state and elsewhere, that, you know, we expect a bit of altruism from certainly from us, and we expect a little bit from our staff, but that doesn't pay the electric bill. And this is, I think this is an excellent demonstration.
And we want to stay competitive. Yes, sir, Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. I respect the councilors' past comments, and I do support raises for the employees, but with $134,000 coming in the middle of our fiscal year, and the last GRT I saw showed kind of a slowdown in terms of our money growth, but I'm concerned that this should have been a budget item coming up in budget discussions, that any raises we should defer to our budget discussions so that we can include these things. Now, the fact that next year that Mr. Curry has pointed out, it's going to cost over $300,000 in additional funding to support these additional, or this raise. I would rather see this get pushed down the road to budget discussion. I hate to do that because I know our employees are important. I know, and I would support the raise, but I'm concerned about having it in the middle of the year, and we still got 6 months yet to go. And I'll probably voice something similar to this in a couple more resolutions here. But that's my concern right now. I do support the raises. But I think it's, in terms of, it should be at a budget discussion time and not mid-term like January. I understand you may think we're in good shape. That could tank, in a couple of months, who knows? I just want to make sure that if we're talking raises, let's talk at that budget discussion time and so forth in the future.
Okay. Anything else? So do you want to vote now?
Yes.
Councilor Murray?
I'm going to vote no.
On Resolution 23-03, cost of living wages, you vote no?
Yes.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
I vote yes.
Councilor Wallman?
Aye.
Councilor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Resolution 23-03 passes. Now we'll move on to consideration action and approval of Resolution 23-04, budget adjustment request. I need a motion for approval of Resolution 23-04.
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion to approve from Councilor Wallman and a second from Councilor Knight. Any discussion? Yes, sir?
What is the bar?
This is to pay this is for the increase, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's for the increase we just passed.
Yeah, we have to do a budget adjustment resolution because we're
That's what I
paying more
figured.
money.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah. Anybody else? So how do you vote, Councilor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Wallman?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Murray?
In light of the last vote, yes.
Oh, okay. So the Resolution 23-04 budget adjustment request is passed. Now we'll move on to consideration action and approval of Resolution 23-05 approving demolition of the Jones House.
I move we approve 23-05.
So I have a motion to approve 2305.
Second.
And a second from Councilor Miera.
Even though it breaks my heart. I've been in that house a long time.
Oh, yeah,
It was-
yeah.
Before it
Well,
was,
and well, it's just one of those, we can't take the chance related to the public health of our
right.
citizens and our employees. We're already kind of, because we've been using it minimally over the last, 4 or 5 years since we purchased it. But now that we know and we have a plan, we need to move forward. So how do you vote, Councilor Murray?
well, I think
Oh,
we-
excuse me, Councilor Wallman, you have a comment?
Mayor, I just have a concern about the use, that building is now being used as storage records. Is that correct?
Yes.
What's the alternative at this point? Are we going electronic or?
So we're gonna go through those records. I shouldn't say we, I'm gonna try not to go through those records. But the village is gonna go through those records and determine which ones can be destroyed and which ones need to be retained.
Randy said it's about 0.5% that could be.
It's a what?
destroyed. Randy told us about 0.5% could be destroyed, and everything else has to be saved, pretty much. Is that right?
We don't know, do we?
Yeah, we have, well, there's boxes actually over there that somebody prior to 2016 was really good about labeling the boxes, and so we have a whole row of boxes that say destroy in 2016 that are still sitting there.
So there's some that have already been,
Yeah.
so that'll be easier.
Yeah.
But we want to cause as little disturbance as we can because most of the asbestos does not seem to be in an area where it'll be an issue unless, of course, you tried to renovate the building and then you get dust everywhere. So, and that's planned, and I don't know that we've actually found a place to put it yet. And we're discussing that right now. We have?
No, we're discussing that, and we're looking at the possibility of getting a pod or
Okay.
a small temporary housing.
Or a container, maybe.
And putting it somewhere either near Public Works or perhaps even on the Anderson property for a temporary place to do it.
Secured.
Yeah, the other thing that's important is that I've been advocating for taking this building down long before anybody thought what we should do with it, just because of the asbestos and the concerns that EPA was having with it. And we've had an EPA contractor in here, and we'll come back again to continue to analyze not just the building, but anything that has migrated from the building into we don't think so, but into like groundwater or into the soil. We don't think that's happened, but we've got a contractor out here. When we had Havana Environmental come out, which is a division of Kears, which Kears is a sister company of Facility Build. They did a survey for asbestos, and the initial survey and the cost for raising the building was around $192,000. We went back and asked for an update, which is what you have in front of you tonight. But one of the other things that we're careful of doing, and Melanie and I have talked about it, is the procedure for going through these records that meets any sort of OSHA requirements for anything that's going on in that building. And so she has spent some time doing that, and I think our protection is going to be minimal for the folks that are doing it. We're not going to have people in orange,
Hazmat
moon
suits.
suits or anything like that. But that was a concern too, because the thing that has been worrisome to some of us is that the building has this in it, and it's been used very casually since we bought it. And that casual use gives me a lot of concern because you just don't know. And so I think it's, due diligence for the village at this point to get the building raised, no matter what comes there next. It's a public health issue.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Along with the review of records that are retained for statutory reasons, do we incorporate any consideration of potential historic value of any particular set of documents?
Historic
I don't
value.
have a concrete example in mind. I'm just wondering if that's, I'm just thinking ahead 40 years from now, are they going to swear at us because look at what we threw away?
Yeah, go ahead.
Councilor Osselbrook, the most documents that will be looked at potentially in 100 years are automatically permanent records. So any actions that you've taken, the composition of the council, the employment records get kept for a long time. So most of the big ticket items are there. Obviously, it is a concern because especially when everything's digitized now, and when it's time for destruction, there is no review of digital records. It's pretty much going to just go away. So, I mean, it certainly isn't contained in the State Records Act, a component to look for historical value of records. But it's not a bad idea. Not that everything we do is going to be that significant in the future, but you never know what someone's like Melanie's going to want to do when she retires. She might want to write a book. You never know. So, I mean, it is something that would be worth looking at.
Well, I don't know that that's so far-fetched, actually. Yes, sir.
Please don't use real names.
All names will be changed to protect the innocent.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. Again, I'm concerned that now we got another $200,000 staring us in the face, and this should be a budget item for budgetary talks. I also want to ask, was an RFP ever put out for this? Are we sole sourcing this particular contract? If we are, we need to go back and put this back through an RFP process, because it seems to me that the state's pretty clear about if you're doing sole source, you've got to have a pretty specific reason for doing it. And I'm concerned that we may be overstepping our authority here. But on top of that, I still have concerns about the $200,000 mid-year with 6 more months left in the budget. And now we've approved $134,000 for the raises. We're now dumping another $200,000. Is this going to come out of the LGIP, or how are we going to fund this? Because are we in that great a shape, budget-wise?
Go ahead.
Counselor, we are funding this out of the general fund. There is no requirement for an RFP on this because we're going through facility build like we've done on other features. Facility build is listed on the CES as a contractor that we can use without RFP.
I'm uncomfortable with that Ms.
And,
Curry.
I know from past experiences that any contractors that are working for EPA will be higher than facility build.
How many other abatement companies are on this state contract?
I think Kiers and Habana are the only two that I'm aware of.
And, well, and Kiers is owned by Facility Build, basically.
And Kiers is associated
Yeah.
with Habana, and they're the sister company of Facility Build.
Yeah, I'm just uncomfortable with this. I really don't like having these sole source contracts, especially for $200,000.
Well, it's really not a sole source per se, because we're following the rules of CES, which we do take advantage of in a lot of different
I think that
like
gets abused.
like our IT systems are through CES, like the building the remodeling we're doing at Village Hall is through CES, Facility Build.
Jim?
The gymnasium is through Facility
Yeah,
Build.
and that's my point, is that I think we abuse the CES system. How many other companies would not mind getting in on this as an RFP? And I'm not going to argue with the work that Facility Build does. I'm just arguing about the process because we rely on CES all the time. Are we getting the best bang for our buck, even though they may have a contract with the state and the state approves them? I'm just worried that we need to be following our own rules of when we go out for these projects, we put them out for bid.
What's the matter?
Let me comment.
Go ahead.
May I, just to clarify, councilors and mayor, this isn't a legal issue. CES process is approved by the state procurement code. So it's not an illegal process, and it isn't a sole source. That's a completely different process. You can make a policy decision. The administration's recommending going this route because they think it's the best route to take. So, but it's a policy decision, not a legal decision.
Yes, Melanie.
I think we were voted on as counselors to make some decisions for the village. And I think this is one of those things that we need to make a vote on. That, we were voted on to take care of village business, and this is just part of the village business.
So you ready to vote? Oops.
I just have one question.
Yes, sir.
if I may.
Councilwoman.
Ron, is there any update on EPA's schedule, what that might look like?
I believe they're going to come back around the 1st of February, and they're aware that we're attempting to move forward on this, and but their documentation will be helpful to us going forward for the current through Facility Build, and also going forward to the future, that we have that documentation, that we've taken that step.
In February 1st, and then what's the final determination in terms of reimbursement, those kinds of things?
As far as reimbursement, I don't think they're going to get into that because their focus is very fragmented.
So let me take this. This is what the lady told me.
Yeah.
So I said, so when can we get some funds? When can we apply for some funds to defray the costs? And when they finish their second round, then you go into the queue and you can apply. But that funding doesn't come up, it only comes up once a year. And so it will be next, if we got the money, it'd probably be next year before we get the money, at least late '23.
Okay.
So we're almost a year down the road and we haven't really done anything. So we don't know how much the match would be. We don't know how much we have to come up with anyway. So given the fact that, yes, it is $200,000, which is a sizable chunk of money, and yes, it is our money, but the good thing is we do have that money. We do have those funds coming in. And so we decided in discussions that it was probably better to go ahead and move ahead and get this done. Even doing that, it takes a little bit of time to get things done because, it takes a while to schedule the workforce that's going to go out there and do it and make whatever plans they have to make to handle whatever the waste is there. Do you have anything else?
Does Region 6 make a determination on this then?
Do they make a determination of
On the timetable and potentially reimbursement?
the Region 6 would make that determination, but
We know anybody there?
Not really. You know, I'll give you an example of a site in Wiley, Texas. And from start to finish, from when they did the survey to where they were actually doing the remediation, was just over 3 years. And like I said, from a public health point of view, that building has been worsening to me, no matter what follows it,
Sure.
in my tenure here.
Good. Thank
How
you.
do you vote, Counselor Meara?
Yes, sir.
Counselor Waldman?
Aye.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Counselor Murray?
No.
Okay, let's move to consideration action approval of Resolution 23-06, Budget Adjustment Request. Do I have a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved?
Second.
I have a motion to approve. Counselor Waldman, was that you, Counselor Meara?
Yes, sir.
A second from Counselor Meara. Any discussion, any comments? How do you vote, Counselor Murray?
No.
How do you vote, Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Waldman?
Aye.
Counselor Meara?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is approved. Consideration action approval of Resolution 23-07 in support of submitting a right-of-way use request to NMDOT for the pedestrian access route along Corrales Road. Do I have a motion to approve that
moved.
resolution?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve from Counselor Murray. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second from Counselor Waldman. Are there any questions, discussions, or whatever, comments?
We can ask, right?
Right. That's basically what we're doing. I believe we're basically putting together another package and sending it to them based on their requests. But we believe we've done this before. We haven't done this before?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, well,
but-
maybe we haven't done this before, but we've done a lot of stuff before.
Mayor?
Yes.
You say on their request, the DOT?
Didn't DOT request this? Melanie, didn't they request this?
They did, yeah. So it was at one of our regular quarterly meetings, and they brought it up sort of casually. Well, we still haven't seen the right-of-way use request. And I think all of us from the village side kind of went, what? So,
Counselor Murray?
Thank you, Mayor, Counselor. So when we're submitting this package, we're going to talk about the entire commercial district from X to Y, because I think the problem was that they wanted the entire right-of-way, maybe not piecemeal.
Okay. Yes,
that-
Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I believe we have some in the audience might want to be
Oh,
able to address
excuse me.
that.
Jim, I'm sorry, I didn't look that far back. Please, take the podium. Well,
Solid work.
I don't look all the way around all the time. That's,
Mayor and councilors, as to the discussion about this resolution and what we're trying to get accomplished here with DOT, this resolution was not requested from DOT, but in our discussions with Councilor Murray and Councilor Waldman and you, Mayor, it was decided that this would be some nice frosting on the cake if we had this to go with the application for usage of the state's right-of-way for the pathway. So this is going in with 5, 6, 7 other documents that we're going to send into to the DOT to have a formal application to make use of the right-of-way for the pathway. Excuse me, the PAR. I've been around too long, I call it the pathway yet, so.
you're among friends, you can do that.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So,
So Mayor, as
Counselor Waldman.
follow-up to Counselor Murray's question, would this then be for the entire project?
yes,
Rather than segmented?
yes, that's, would be, the application would be for use of the right-of-way from Old Church to Meadowlark, even though our drawings are for just phase 1, but this application would be for usage of the entire right-of-way.
And if approval came through, then you would add segments to that?
Yeah, as all the other design got completed, funding, completed, all those kinds of things, yes.
And I know that you have about $150,000 at this point. Is that in a bank somewhere? Has any of that been used? Is that part of the application? Money went to the application?
Could you ask the question again,
Yeah,
Councilor? I'm sorry.
I believe that in the past you have received $150,000, and I'm wondering kind of where that stands.
Counselor, yes, we have received funding in the past. We have expended virtually all of those funds, short of about $3,000 for the design and engineering work that has been completed up to this point, which goes back for a number of years. 3 or 4 or 5 years was a time period for which that work has been done, but and definitely covers the phase 1 piece. So it's, if we get their approval for use of the right-of-way, we can dump, if I can use that word, the engineering work and drawings right on them right away. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay. Ready for vote? Councilor Mira, how do you vote?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Woolman?
Aye.
Councilor Knight? Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Murray?
Aye.
Okay. So, Resolution 23-07 has passed, has been approved. Future agenda items.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry, I would.
I'm sorry, I just, in my packet here, we talked, did we ever talk about Resolution 21018? Because it's not on the consent agenda, and it's not on the new business.
It should have been 23-08, the COVID emergency declaration extension. Did it?
No, this is 21-018. It's
What's the
about-
title?
Pardon?
What's the title of the resolution?
Oh, that was supporting documentation for the resolution approving the pedestrian access route. That was a resolution that had been passed previously, showing kind of a history of the project.
Okay, so that wasn't on the consent agenda or the new business? That's
Right.
just
Yeah,
information?
yeah, it was
Okay.
just
I just wanted to make
supporting
sure that we
Oh, yeah.
didn't skip something, or we didn't misuse it.
No, they're very good. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. So, future agenda items, I don't have any announcements on here. Well, I guess announcement. Jason Kasuga is going to come next meeting and give us an update on what they're doing and what's going to happen in time frame. We're going to have a special meeting on February 21st. I think you've all been approached about this, to hear 2 appeals from the Planning and Zoning Commission, one of which deals with this site.
And that one will be at 6 PM instead of 6:30. So the 21st at 6 PM.
And then we have the resolution amending the village code that had we anticipate that planning and zoning will allow us to move ahead with the modification of the amendment to the village code that takes out that phrase that they thought was not appropriate. Anything else you guys have you want to talk about, you want to put on the agenda? We'll probably have more by the time we have a meeting. Okay, does anybody have anything else they want to bring up before we call it a day?
More than likely, we're not going to see that young lady anymore for at least 60 days, so we want to wish her well.
Oh, yeah. Well, I gave her an opportunity to come up here. Would you like to come speak now?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I mean, you can close, in fact, I'll let you close out the meeting if you like.
You better have the gavel.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr.
okay,
Mayor.
sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. Yes, as always, Councilman Miata is correct. I will not be able to probably make the February 21st meeting, but you all know how to get a hold of me. And that includes the constituents who are online right now. And I welcome your texts, and I learn something every meeting, and thank you so much for your service.
Well, thank you.
Corrales is very exciting. Very exciting day today, Mr. Mayor, with so much going on.
But on that point, Mr. Mayor, I think you were, at least when you had the discussion over here, which we were glad to entertain you with, the siphon is on one of your big budget items along with Senator, right?
Yes, Senator McKenna and I will be using some of our capital outlay to offset the cost for changing the diesel pumps over to electric. Electric pump, and that project should be ready by the end of February. That will reduce the noise that's in the bosque and also the fire damage. We've been having to put diesel fuel into a fire vulnerability, and so that's very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, quick question. Mayor, Representative
Oh,
Cates?
sorry, Kathleen?
I just wanted to get your take on the town hall the other day. So how do you feel about, the turnout and so forth?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council Murray. I will tell you, who helped me organize it was a staffer who worked with the previous speaker and will work with our future speaker, so much more savvy with the organization of the town hall. I'm very grateful to Corrales. I asked for this space. This space I like to show off to, and there were people who had never been in this space before. It is wonderful and comfortable for people with different disabilities and hearing. And Melanie came in on a Sunday, and so that was extraordinary. So I will tell you that the staffer said that they have had town halls with more seasoned legislators and 5 legislators and smaller crowds than we had. He was very impressed with the online and in-person crowd. And I say, it's Corrales. We are engaged. And so, and we're all about the community. And he was very impressed with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and Councilor Miera did an excellent job.
Yes, he did.
So,
Thank you.
And I requested him, so, I
Oh,
know,
well,
I know
that's-
where it's good.
you know what's good, yes. Yes, Chief, would you like to come say something? I'm sorry I missed you before.
I just wanted to take the time to say thank you, Mayor Fahey, Administrator Curry, Council. As a department head, it's my job to try to get my employees, keep them motivated, give them the tools that they need to do their job. And, I'm really honored to work in the village of Corrales where I hear the mayor, the administration, the council approve the cost of living. So I could tell you the text messages have already went out to all of our staff. They're ecstatic. They like to know that they have the support not only from their department, but from the governing body. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for what you do. And thank you, too. Even though you're in the back of the room, Joint Chiefs statement. Okay, having completed the business of the village council this evening, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
All right.
Wow.